Welcome back, everyone. With the injury to Matt Milano, I wanted to put out a short little video about what Bills fans can expect from Dorian Williams. All right, so let's start with what he does well. So in this first play, we have a straight drop back. Dorian takes a step or two back. He reads the quarterback, and he's aware of sort of who is entering the zones and moving down the sideline as Caleb gets out of the pocket. It's a good play. He really demonstrates a lot of awareness, and he really knows how to play, especially against mobile quarterbacks, which is going to be a little different than straight sort of in the pocket kind of guys. And we can see Dorian having some versatility here. So, in this play, he's in man to man defense against the tight end, and he shows his ability to get close, initiate the contact, and then slow down the tight end's momentum and really follow him in man. This is so important to do in the Sean McDermott scheme as a linebacker. They really need to have that versatility, especially now that they're playing some more pressures than they were under Leslie Frazier. So that's where he's, good. But where does he need to get better? So when there's a fake to the wide receiver screen in this play, he stays in position, protecting from getting out of position from the backside play. But it takes him an extra second or so to see sort of that the ball is being handed off. And when the tight end comes into the block, instead of kind of drifting over towards the play to get into better position, and get off the block, instead he initiates the block and then disengages, which he does do pretty well. But it's a block that could have been avoided if he was a little quicker in diagnosing what was going on and put himself in better position to be in there to make the tackle if he needed to. So here's another play where he's just not quite as instinctive in recognizing the play as Bernard is. This is in the red zone, so everything sort of happens a lot faster. And when the snap comes off, the O-line is obviously in a run block formation and technique, and it takes him a moment to sort of recognize what's going on and the double team that's in front of him. And so he kind of gets sealed off. He could be protecting against a cutback, but even so, by being engaged, it's going to be kind of hard for him to really be in the play, even if that cutback happens. So it's something that he really needs to, diagnose better, but also making sure to keep from getting locked in from the offensive lineman. So here's really where the lack of recognition sort of really hurts him in playing free. So he sees pass catchers releasing, but is designed to sort of get him out of the play and sort of distract him from where the play is really going to the running back. So it kind of really opens up the middle of the field and allows those cutback lanes to be wide open. If Dorian is ends up being the starter, this is something that like opposing teams are going to see on film, and they're going to really exploit it. And he's going to be out of position. And last year, part of the reason why Sean McDermott didn't really want to play him too much was because he was out of position a lot, which is just something that's kind of really limits the chances for the Bills' defensive scheme to be effective. So if the running back here was able to cut back and get around the defensive end, there's a wide angle that is left open right up the middle of the field, and you could really run up there for a big gain, especially if Williams was so far out of the play that he couldn't really catch up and make the tackle. And I think of everything, this is really what is going to limit him. So because the Bills sort of rely heavily on nickel, Milano is great partially because he really knows how to be impactful in the run game and not just get knocked off his feet. Um, and he's obviously excels in pass coverage, but he obviously isn't a liability in run either. So here Dorian is more decisive, and I get that he's trying to force the run back to where he has support, but he's too high. He's not aware of the offensive line double team on the defensive tackle, and when the offensive lineman comes off, he just completely blindsides Dorian and knocks him completely off his feet out of the play. Can't really do anything anymore. So there's nothing wrong with him being in that position. I think that's sort of where he should be. But he needs to be able to sort of set his feet, get in a power position, and at least be able to sort of deflect and sort of work the offensive lineman backwards at the very least so we can shed, as opposed to just getting completely pancake blocked. So this here is a similar play, but it kind of shows how we can play it and be a lot more effective. So as the ball is snapped, he is sort of in the backside pursuit. He sort of gets behind and around the tackle and defends against a cutback. There's so much more, I think, of a natural position for him. I don't know if he's great in terms of being lined up inside like we saw last play, but this play sort of outside technique and positioning, and he's really able to be the sort of rallying to the ball if it led to that. But I think that this is sort of where he's probably the best, as opposed to being in the point of attack. So this next play here, this was sort of the backbreaker play against the Bears in the first preseason game. There are, as Dorian goes into coverage, there are a few targets that are running throughout his zones, and he's just a tiny bit late getting back over to the check down to Swift. So when he does recover, the issue that he has is instead of kind of trying to play around the offensive lineman like we saw in the previous play, he's trying to like go through the lineman, kind of blow it up. And in the NFL, the players are just too big. You're just not going to be able to get away with playing like that. And so maybe taking a deeper angle, so you're getting around the block, or maybe trying to fight your way underneath, or whatever you know Williams sort of has to do there for that. But trying to just basically kind of running into and engaging the offensive lineman, probably not going to be super successful. And I think that's a habit that in order for him to be a good starter, that he's going to have to break, trying to avoid contact rather than initiating it, which I didn't watch him a ton in college, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was able to do that because he was, one of the more powerful and athletic linemen in, sort of most of his games. All right, so this is the last one, and this is really the biggest issue that I saw with him in this game. When he tries to play more instinctually, sometimes he can sort of fall for the fakes and the play actions. In this play, he gets out of positions in a zone, lets the tight end sort of run past him on his way to the corner route. And I think the biggest thing he can improve on is being aware more of what is going on around him. Even if there is a potential handoff, with the tight end running down the field, it's very unlikely. I don't think I've ever seen a play where a tight end is playing like that, because it just really opens yourself up to the play, sort of getting like a free runner to the rusher or a free runner to the running back. So this is really where I think he needs to improve the most, sort of like identifying what the offense is doing to give him clues of like how he needs to react, as opposed to just trying to see it. He can kind of feel it based off of what everyone is doing. So I think some of that will come to him, but he may not be the most natural at that. So I think it's something that he can work on. Maybe his ceiling may be limited a little bit by some of these things that we saw. I think in the end, if he was a top NFL prospect in terms of play recognition, I think he would have been a much higher draft pick. So I think he was there in the third round for a reason. So I hope this sort of helps Bills fans sort of understand kind of what to expect, how they might use him. I think in the preseason, they're kind of exploring and trying to work on some things. Obviously, I don't think they went into it thinking that Dorian Williams was going to have a big role in the defense. So I think they may shift a little bit on how their defense is operates to best maximize Dorian Williams' skill set. So we'll kind of see. I think the next preseason game here against the Steelers is going to tell us a lot. So appreciate you for sitting through the video, and I'll see you next time.